webinar is up. And we are now live.
Do you also want to update the town meeting post to say that the open meeting is resumed?
Yes, I have to change the link over as well.
Okay,
Get that.
wait for a second.
Kelly, did you get that workup that I had asked? Just to show what we did.
I haven't gotten that one.
Okay. That's something that you have on your computer. As long as we can see.
Before you guys get started, I want to ask, do you want me to attend this portion or not? It's up to you, whether you think I'd be helpful or not. Or, yeah, your call.
I defer to Administrator Edwards, I guess.
I think if anybody's going to have questions about what they should be looking for, but and I believe all that you're going to be participating in this evening is identifying who you're interested in interviewing. And then there's a system in place that you all have used before that Trustee Burrell and Trustee Weigert, I believe both have been involved in. It's pretty much set. I mean, you may want to change the wording of a question or something, but I'm not so sure that the discussion this evening is going to be necessary to have Attorney Cosner.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Enjoy your dinner.
We'll sign off. Thank you. Have a good evening, everybody.
Right, Paul?
Good.
You're live.
I'll be leaving at this time. I'll be leaving at this time.
Well, so hold on a second, because I do an announcement about closing the executive session.
Okay.
Right, the time is now 7:20 PM and the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were myself, Trustee Varela, Trustee Harper, Trustee Weigert, Trustee George, Town Attorney Cosmic, and Administrator Edwards. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Seeing none, I adjourn the executive session. And we are now commencing our work session relating to the town attorney search.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Old sandbagger.
All right. Please, would you like to provide us with some guidance on how you'd like this to go?
Guidance, because I wasn't really given any myself.
Okay, so we just start going through the pile and extolling the virtues of each one of the candidates, yes or no. And I did ask Kelly, just so everybody knows, for a overview of what we pay currently to Paul, just so it can all be in context for everybody. When you look at some of the proposals in these, saying that they wanted a flat fee, and then you can see why last time when we did contract negotiation, we chose not to do flat fee because we never even came close to the marks that some of the people have put in these. So that's why I'd asked Kelly for that accounting of what we have spent for attorneys. Only Mr. Kosnick that excludes water attorneys.
And Attorney Cosmick's hourly rate is $3.50 an hour.
Kelly?
Attorney Cosmick's hourly rate is $3.50 an hour.
$165 an hour.
160.
Man, what's the deal? Man,
For some reason, 'cause I'd asked earlier and I got a 350. Well, that's way better.
On here, it's saying 165, so.
Okay, great. It's a great baseline.
Go for it. Who's first?
Do we want to do our choices or just go one at a time?
Well, we have to come to a consensus.
Yeah.
So if Sally sent in her consensus, then,
I have Sally and I have Jordan's.
okay.
So should we ask her to share their top or should we wait and what do you prefer?
Last time we just went through every single one and we all came to a collective.
Okay,
So at the end of that, if any of them meet what Kelly Sally and Jordan, yeah.
that's good. Okay. So the first one I have in my packet's the Anesi Law Firm.
yep.
So I have absolutely nothing wrong with Nick. For those of you who don't know him, he definitely knows the Harpers. That would be the only potential conflict of interest that I would see in the future if we had anything that we had to negotiate. And the other potential conflict of interest is if we had anything with Tiffany Smith. What's her last name now? Decay,
Okay.
because that's her cousin. Yeah, because, Frank's her uncle. But we do know that Nick is very good. That's my two.
So I think they seem like a really good firm and their scope of experience is great, but I think that the representation of the train entirely blocks them as representing the town.
Comment?
Oh, on Anisi?
Mhm.
Yeah, that seems pretty valid, I guess. They did do right that they're unaware of any conflicts between the town, Silverton and Railroad, so I guess it would only matter if one crops up. And I guess I would ask, does that include, and I don't know, it's an honest question, does that include the hotel now as part of the railroad or just?
I've used them.
Okay, yeah, but
Past.
I don't know. It's,
Yeah,
and I guess if it did pop up, he would
so yeah,
legally probably have to not represent one side or the other. I'm not a lawyer.
Yep.
But okay.
Okay.
But I know they've been in business around here for a long time, he and his family.
Jess?
Yeah, I like Anesi. I think they have a good background knowledge for Southwest Colorado and this area in particular, and they look really good. So other than what's been noted about the conflict of interest, I think they're one of the high ones for me on my choice.
What do you think, Jim?
I noticed right off the bat, obviously. The references is my brother. I've used Nick for years and years and years, both on water rights issues in La Plata County, property rights and water rights issues in San Juan. Nick and his father Frank are extremely detailed and knowledgeable with the Southwest and pretty much the state, but definitely with a focus on the Southwest. I think they're incredible, but I also understand if there's an issue, then there's an issue.
So didn't we, I thought we had an issue with somebody else. It had come up because of.
It was our former attorney. The heck's his name? Before
Jeff Robbins.
Jeff Robbins, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that law firm's been ours for 20 years.
but we didn't have a problem keeping them for the town of Silverton because anything involving the train, Jeff would just be like, done. So,
Well,
It just seems like if we have a really good option that doesn't have even the perception of such a significant conflict, that we should go that
I'm
direction.
like this. I don't-
Any notes about an SE from Jordan or Sally?
Either.
And you just asked them for top 5, not kind of like notes.
Yep, top 5.
Okay. So where are you on it, Tyler?
The,
Top 5 or no?
it was not in my top 5. But I
easy.
because of that reason, but if it was, after talking here, if there weren't any other, if there's not a better option, and they can, and there's precedent for having somebody have represented us before and we didn't have a conflict, that's fine. I did see some other options in here that I thought were pretty good, so I'd like to discuss those as well. And maybe there's some huge red flags there, but, or somebody has an issue with those that I didn't see. But I think, yeah, I think we should just keep moving through, and then if this is not, I don't think it's a complete deal breaker now that I've listened to the precedent for it, so. Yeah.
Also just note that just because we've done it before doesn't mean it was a good idea.
That's also true, and there's certain things in Silverton that definitely that has, but, you know.
All right. That's pretty split, but good to go. Cunningham Swain,
Can I start this one?
absolutely.
Or do you want to start this one, Jess? Okay, so I have a big problem with the fact that he reapplied, a big problem.
We say reapplied.
He reapplied, he applied the last go around.
Okay.
He decided to crash with the knowledge of the mayor and the acting admin. He came in and we were in the middle of a session where we were trying to compile our, oh, come on. It was the overall scope of how we were going to do it, what questions we were going to ask. We were doing the interview, questions and so on. And he came in and basically tried to snowball us all to be like, hey, I'm here. I'm your guy. I'm representing you. He didn't even know that the EPA issue was in the county because he actually told us in that meeting, well, when he crashed our meeting, that he was going to be our EPA representative and he knew how to do it. And I was just so turned off by that. I just was like, you've got to be kidding me. You don't even know that you want to be the EPA attorney, but you don't even know that it's the county's problem. We just have like a little tiny bit of a seat at the table just so we can be informed. So he put me off so bad. I was so shocked.
For clarification, you're talking about the former mayor.
Yes. Yes, good point. Yes, the former mayor. But yeah, do you remember that, Jess? That he just crashed that work session and I was so unimpressed.
I do. Yeah. And like you said, an applicant in the past and not very high rated. But I'm open to what other trustees feel, but just not high marks for me.
I trust your judgment on that. And since you both have had a direct interaction, I'm fine putting that off the list.
Yeah.
Was Cunningham
It was number 50 for Sally,
and anything on Jordan's?
none on Jordan.
I think Sally would, well, I'm not gonna speak for Sally. Never mind. D. Brett Van Winkle.
This is the gentleman that he lives in Durango. He also it was my understanding after reading his letter that I just didn't feel like he had the team that some of these other firms were going to offer. And he also owns 2 businesses, and I'm not sure if he'll have the time that we might need, but those were my initial thoughts.
Yeah, and I was just kind of
Yeah.
wasn't bad, but wasn't great.
Yeah, a lot of the other, after looking through some of the other ones, they said, you know, we've got this attorney on staff, but we also have this paralegal that'll be available to you. We've got this person that specializes in water law. If we need to do that. And, you know, we're available all the time. And I just, I would be worried that this person wouldn't be able to give us the time that he needed. And he didn't have some of the previous experience that some of the, I think, other firms offered.
I have a general note and a specific note. The general note is that I think the town needs a law firm with more breadth than a single practitioner, you know, from contract to land use, to water rights, to litigation, to personnel matters. I just don't think one person is likely to have the breadth of experience that we need. That's the general kind of filter that I was also thinking about throughout this whole process. And with respect to D. Brett Van Winkle, this is a very much incomplete application, and I don't think that is a good sign.
Yeah, that was.
We did last time as well.
Was this another applicant?
No,
Oh, okay.
no. But no, that was one of the criteria, if Jess remembers, as well as I do. If they couldn't actually look at the RFP and fill out every single one of the lines coming down, which were, because it was just about detail. It didn't actually have to do with the way they answered it.
Right.
It was whether or not they viewed the detail in what we produced and felt the need to answer it back with the detail we wanted.
Anything to note for that attorney from Jordan or Sally?
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna just X them out as well. Deborah Plumhoff, or sorry, Jess, did you have any thoughts on, okay.
I liked the other towns that they represent. I like that. I think, and I liked, again, the size of their team, the specific experience each member of their team, or that they wrote about each member of their team having. They also had a, sorry, I've got notes everywhere here about these. I feel like one of their, also their rate was pretty comparable, or at least.
They offered 220.
20, yeah.
That seems like something we could attempt to negotiate as well.
And they're more local than some of the other ones we looked at, which I like, but this is the Montrose firm, yeah.
Well, they also understood the water rights issues and municipalities that are our size.
Yeah.
And that face our sort of issues. They were high on my list.
They were for me as well, especially if you're looking at Crawford, Hotchkiss. Ridgeway's a little bit better, but the others are really, really small.
Yeah.
And then what else did I really like about them? 220, obviously negotiable. The one that I had was the round trip to Silverton.
Travel time.
Travel time, that can be written out in contract. I think we had several last time that had written in travel time that were relatively local, and we got them to just basically say once a month, you got to be here no matter what per contract, and travel time was not reimbursed.
Zoom, I think we can.
Jess, what do you think?
I would agree with what all the trustees have said before me. Also very high on my list. I like that they have West Slope experience. I think that offers a unique perspective that some of the people over on the other side of the state may not completely understand. Excellent background in water law, which is very important and stuff that we're going to want to look into as a town. So very high. I like them.
How about Sally and Jordan?
Both of them, they were both number one on their list.
Okay.
Thanks, Jess. I'll put my input into, I have a great deal of respect for Patrick Ronanelli, and he was their first or second reference here. We've looked a lot at Ridgeway for models of code provisions, master plan, and other things that we strive for. So the fact that they represent them, I think, is great. So this is top of my list too. All right, Fairfield Woods.
I'll start.
Yep.
I had an issue with this because this is the, I don't know, it's in a roundabout way that Todd recommended this other firm, and now we've got that other firm going for Lisa. And I feel that there's almost a little bit, I don't know. It seemed like everybody else seems to know this person and everybody was high on their list. When we were in here talking about the potential stuff for, come on, what was that group that we just hired for Lisa? RGI, RP, yeah. And so,
How's this connect to them?
yeah, but it was this Todd guy that he's
Todd
involved.
Starr?
No, Todd Messenger. He's involved with something that had something to do with some planning and zoning, and that is how this information came to us about and I don't know, I just felt too close for comfort, kind of like the same way I voiced about betraying the potential conflict there. I just didn't quite understand the relationship, and I know Anthony left because he's the one who brought us that information. And so I have a feeling it's a personal relationship or some sort of working relationship with the two of them in the past. I don't know, but that was my one thing that I didn't quite get. I did like the big team behind it, but isn't this the one that had the? Go ahead, somebody else can talk.
I don't think this was the one with the ridiculous flat fee proposal, but their hourly rates are very high compared to our other.
Yeah. Also, this is with the rates that high is the travel that they're gonna. That's the payment we're gonna need to
They're based in Denver.
give them to travel here. If they do need to travel, that could, I mean.
Yeah.
Big team, a lot of experience, but I mean, it would be my preference to hire somebody a little closer to home, but some of these the front slope offices do seem to have a whole lot of manpower. Be a good thing.
It sounds like potential perceived conflict that we would need to clarify.
Yeah,
They're out of our ballpark.
to me.
The pros are scope of knowledge and size of team, but it seems like with other good options, they don't really hold up. Not a fair assessment for everybody.
Yep.
How about Sally and Jordan?
Sally, it was second on her list and fifth on Jordan's list.
All right, so
They were lower on my list.
yeah, I guess I'd say if we don't have a clear direction from this, we can consider them towards the bottom of the list, but it doesn't seem like a strong candidate. Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with what's been said by the trustees at the present meeting. This was not a high score for me when I was reading through. Based on what's been said, I think the rates out of our ballpark, far from us and over in Denver. So I prefer to look somewhere else.
The next one I have is Hawker Smith Whitmore, and I want to just volunteer that Lane Thomason is a good ski buddy of mine. I didn't realize that she was connected with this firm the last time that she and I spoke about work. She was assistant PA in Montrose, but there's that perceived or actual conflict that she's a ski buddy of mine. And she's one of the associates at this firm. The back was a little out of order.
Yeah. This was 3 on my list. Based on the experience in their experience rates, and Although I am looking at the letter from Martha, and it wasn't actually addressed to us, so I don't know if that's a red flag, since you did point out earlier that it's good to have everything I's dotted and T's crossed, so. It's kind of like a,
Well, now with your comment, Shane, please see the attached resumes of both Bartha and Lane Thomas. We propose that both attorneys would be involved in the representation of Silverton, depending on specific matters and expertise required. But Ms. Thompson would be the primary attorney contact for most matters. So that again could create that, just like with the train, whether it's real or if it's perceived, it can create the same way with this one.
No, it's just a perceived so she and I have no business relationship, never have. He's never represented me in any way. But I understand that we're living in a,
where at this point, if we can find a better option that we can all agree on, just even the perceived notion right now is kind of becoming a problem, and I would agree, steer away from any undue, even if it's not based in fact, it would be a good idea to, I think it rolls it out completely, just like Anisi, but if there's something better, maybe, or somebody better, maybe we can go with them.
okay.
Jess?
I actually like this one quite a bit. And as for the perceived conflict of interest, I mean, if we're looking to stick with somebody local, we're going to have a certain bit of that. I mean, I'm sure there's people here that know the Anisis as friends or acquaintances as well. So this was actually a pretty high score for me. I like that they're local, close, West Slope. They're familiar with the area, and the issues serving the area. So for what it's worth.
They were in my top 5.
Mine as well.
Yep.
And there again, all the prices, we can contract negotiation, anything, because I think last time we tried to put a cap on it, what we would put in the contract. I don't remember exactly.
Next one.
And you,
Oh yeah, Sally
sorry.
and Jordan.
Was not on Sally's list, second on Jordan's.
Smith was not on Sally's?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Rob is the next one I have.
Probe.
Probe.
I just know some probes that used to live in Cortez. None of them have these names, but I know that's how they said the last name. Why would you be known as a crab?
Name freeze fries. Don't call me late for dinner.
This is the firm that doesn't charge for drive time,
Yes.
travel time.
Oh, wait, special water for the city of Cortez.
It's a family affair.
It is, but none of the Krobes I knew had that.
Were
They
they,
was not smart enough to be.
did they rank on Sally and Jordan's list?
Neither.
Gosh, I love their fee structure though. And the no travel time. I also wondered if they knew where we were on the map.
Because they're mostly representing Front Range.
Well, but they're smaller ones up on the Front Range. And so if you look, yeah, Florence, Granby, things like that. So, yeah, you know, we always get confused with Silverton.
Everyone was like, guys, got any comments?
They're based in Denver.
Yeah.
Pretty middle of the pack. They didn't really jump out at me at all. I'm indifferent.
That's all I was. Tyler?
Yeah, yeah, I guess Granby is a town sort of comparable to us in size. The county isn't, but, so that was good. And the no travel fee was fine, but, yeah, they were number 5 on my list initially.
One, the other thing that I liked is the Scotty Curb was a member of the CML. So that tells you that they put municipalities and the work that small municipalities do kind of up there. So they were also in my top 5, but they were the very last one.
Next, we have Mike Moran. This was the flat fee proposed of 7,000 a month and solo practitioner, so I just kind of
Yeah,
moved on.
yeah,
It was 2 pages, seriously.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he hasn't represented any towns.
Jess?
Also, pretty middle of the pack for me.
Either on Jordan or Sally.
Okay. Wood Banowski.
This was another flat rate.
This is the one who public commented at our last meeting,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he did. They did come, yeah.
which was not a great move.
No. And he should, I'm seriously, a municipal attorney applying should really know better, honestly. Maybe he thought he was just doing the right thing because it was not a coordinated attack like the one with Todd Starr. I just felt that this was, yeah, I don't know, I felt it inappropriate.
Yeah, I would agree. The other thing that jumps out at me is the $600 flat rate. Just not very impressed with this application, and then really a huge red flag showing up at the town board meeting like that for me as well. So not a high score.
I didn't see, I mean, there's a lot of town names on clients represented, but I don't think any of them are Colorado.
Well, and most people do have several licenses if you're in the Four Corners. So these don't seem to be, I don't even know where these are.
Texas.
Oh, Texas. Oh, yeah. That's another one with reciprocity, I believe. So, yep, that one was out of my mind.
It's not on Sally's list, but 3rd on Jordan's.
All right, so strong marks for Anesi, subject to conflict. No for Cunningham Swain, no for Brett Van Winkle. Strong marks for Deborah Plumhoff with no red flags. Fairfield Woods, some perceived conflict and too expensive. So are we good to X that
I
one
have
off?
that next off. Yeah.
Okay. Smith and Whitmore, perceived conflict with my friendship with Lane, but otherwise high on the list for everybody. Crow, indifferent, but maybe top 5 towards the bottom for some people. And then Wood Banowski sounds like Xed off the list. So that leaves us with Anesi, Deborah Plumhoff, Hawkersmith, and Krob. Do we want to eliminate Krob since that was pretty indifferent and we already have maybe 3 firms to call back for interviews?
How many interviews do we want to do?
I mean, honestly, I would suggest that we interview Deborah Plumhoff because they were top for everybody and have it be theirs to lose. And if we're not impressed from the interview, then set up interviews with these other 2. Unless you think,
I would do all 3 in one day. I would do our top 3 in one day.
okay,
Isn't that what we did before, Jess? Top 3 in one day?
That is what we did before, and there's only so much you can tell from an applicant based on what they give you on paper. So I would prefer to see the top 3 that we have listed there, all in person and all in the same day, in my opinion. And just so that we can get it knocked out all at once if we need to, if we don't like Dover Plymouth. But yeah, I would agree with what's been said.
awesome.
Yeah, because Paul actually interviewed better. I mean, yeah, because it was the same kind of thing. You were kind of we were all a little indifferent to his application, but his knowledge, the way it came across to everything was, it was just like, oh, this is exactly what we need,
Interview better than his application. I feel like it's usually opposite.
No, I don't know if it's just so hard to tell when you read this, because everybody words things differently. And I have found Paul to be extremely calm and competent, and he was exactly what we were looking for. I mean, I'm sad to see him go. I'm happy with these 3.
Okay, so
I do believe last time the clerk just sent out a thank you letter to everybody else that applied. It should have been should be in your computer, like a cover letter that's already in existence. And then from there, it was just coordinating the scheduling.
is there a template of questions from the last series of interviews that we can use to guide our?
I have those from last time.
Great.
Didn't we attach it initially, Kelly, when I came in and worked with you? I think we may have, or it should have already been in a.
Have a file downstairs with that all in it.
I think she included it.
And is that something we share with the candidate firms, or just, is it a kind of?
Now that would
Little questionnaire. I would
be, okay, this should be 18. Did you find it, Kelly? Because I thought she included it in an email.
Yeah, that's right here.
Started talking about it. Yep.
Yeah, from 2018. I still have it, so I can send that to everybody and you guys can give me your input as to, do we want to use these? Do we want to change them anyway? Of that sort. There's. I think there's about 16 questions on there.
Is it worth asking Attorney Kosnick if he thinks any of these questions were particularly good or not good? Or if there's any supplemental questions he would ask?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, and I can review them for you really quick.
I can read them
You have them?
from here. I want to see them.
I have what we formulated off of, and then what we actually came up with. So the first one says, give us a brief overview, 5-minute overview of your past town attorney history and why the town of Silverton should be interested in you. Number 2 is give us an example of where you've had a conflict of interest in the past and how you handled the situation. So that was, like I said, because we had that actual and perceived before. Give us your perception on and experience with operating agreements, employment agreements, IGAs, 3Ps, negotiating, drafting, such contracts and or agreements. So if you don't know what 3Ps are, it's public-private partnerships. IGAs are intergovernmental agreements, and obviously employment, so being HR. What do you know about the types of legal issues that face the town of Silverton? What are our needs, employment matters, land use, the feds, the EPA, budget and procedure, formation of policy, and integration into town code? Because at that time we'd had an issue with things being codified, even though they'd be passed as resolutions or ordinance, they would never go into the handbook, so they were not accessible. Then the rules were changed, and that was a major issue. Revision for the town of Silverton land use and development of codes is a major objective for our team. This is obviously subjective because that's what it was then. So number 9 could use some work if this board thinks that it needs to be changed. And then it says, describe your land use background, your approach to removing barriers in policy development. Number 10 is, what is your experience negotiating policy, land use, or operational matters in the context of municipal government jurisdictions? What has been your experience negotiating with private developers through the annexation or subdivision process? Because potentially we still have both on the table with the end of subdivision. And so that's why that question was pertinent, whether this board thinks it is or not, obviously. And in municipal law, reducing risk is often in conflict with the action of moving an issue forward. Tell us about a project where you provided legal counsel that successfully balanced these two competing factors. Number 12 was a 2-part question. When the Board of Trustees is discussing a policy issue, what role the town attorney should play? What would you do if the Board of Trustees made a decision that you totally disagreed with? Okay, and then B, what if the decision of the town administrator, what if there was a decision from the town administrator that you disagreed with? And this again it was kind of subjective because we either had some issues before. 13, what do you see your role in relationship to the trustees, administrator, department heads, and staff? Working for the Board of Trustees and balancing the working relationship that you have with the town administrator and town staff can be a challenge. How do you see yourself in this role, and what would you do to maintain this balance? 14 is, how would you depend on policy and procedure to protect the community from conflicts of interest on bad decisions in governmental entities? Discuss the ethical question or dilemma that you faced and how you dealt with it. So that was very significant as well, because it balanced, because governments don't always make the right decisions, and conflicts of interest. So that one was, and the ethical dilemma of what you have to do to overcome it. We saw that one as probably being extremely pertinent because we are so small, and we were dealing with, once again, more local attorneys and how they would deal with that, because we did not, with the last one, we didn't look at anybody in Denver either or outside. So that was a very pertinent question. And then please describe your experience with employment law and personnel matters. Where do you see the role of the town Board of Trustees as it's related to personnel matters? And when do you recommend obtaining employers' counsel or CIRSA legal advice? And how does this relationship typically work? Give us an example. 16, is there anything else we should know about you or your qualifications that we have not discussed in this interview? Do you have a duty to explain anything else, such as a disability, requiring accommodations, a pending lawsuit, another job offer with a deadline, etc.? And what questions do you have for us regarding the contract position or the town in general? And the last one was very pertinent too, because just like every single thing else, they've applied for multiple jobs and we had people dropping out after they'd already submitted. So we made that a very significant question too, because hey, you just applied, we're about to give you an interview, and then you're like, oh, sorry, gotta go. So, yeah, so that was a little, and we've had that happen before. So that was what we came up with. Obviously, if anything needs to be changed, or if anybody thinks anything needs to be added to.
Can we get a copy of that?
You just sent it.
I just sent it to you guys.
I did request
You want to just send us the PDF itself so that.
access to it because I can't.
Okay, so we need to schedule in-person interviews, which is complicated, but at least all three firms are local. So that makes it easier. Attempted to schedule them back to back on the same day. Before that, I guess we should set a deadline for us to provide any comments to this list that we'd like to see reflected. We should also share that with Attorney Kosnick to see if you'd like to suggest any revisions to this as well. Do we want to attempt to put a range of like a time, like when we would like, not the specific dates and times, but is there like, do we want to try and schedule these within 10 days, 14 days, 2 days? You know, what's the thought on that?
He's important to ask. He's important to ask right now until the next, probably until the first week of June. I've got mostly open, so I can do a lot.
Wednesday, Thursdays are mostly bad. If I do get enough advance notice, I can typically get somebody to cover for a few hours. But and then May, later in May, I would have some real conflicts, but that's really towards the end of the month, and I don't think we want to wait that long on this.
No, because we need to get Paul
Out of here.
extended his services.
Yeah, let me just,
Can we aim for the week of the 10th? I think next week might be too short notice.
May 10th?
So the week of May 10th, which is a week and a half from now. The 10th is our next town meeting. And then if you said Wednesday, Thursdays are bad, or Tuesday, Wednesday?
Thursdays are typically bad. Let me just, and I'm getting my calendar out.
So Monday, Tuesday, or Friday. Jess, do you have any major commitments on the 10th, 11th, or 14th?
As long as we're talking Monday, Tuesday, you know, I think I'm good with that. It's the Tuesdays that get busy towards the second half of the month for me with planning commission and master planning committee meetings. So, you know, Monday, Tuesday, that sounds good.
Okay, I'm clear the 10th and 11th as well, anytime.
10th is,
The 10th is our meeting day. I'm not doing.
So the 11th?
11th.
Okay.
Okay with that. I'm not staffing two meetings like that in one day.
The school's still in session, so we might not have Jordan and Sally until the evening, so it'd be like a 5 p.m. series of interviews. Right, was one school out? Does anyone know?
I have
We have another
no.
month.
So it'd be a Tuesday night. Let's pick an alternate just in case. That's a hard conflict for Sally or Jordan.
T, you said no Wednesday, Thursday?
but I think if we, since I have 2 weeks, I could probably, if we can get all three of them in a day, I would get somebody to cover, and that way we could knock them out.
Well, I know with Sally and Jordan, if we go at the crack of dawn, they could do it then or later in the evening. Is what kind of their schedule is, what they have told me for even like this meeting tonight, if you could do it earlier in the morning or.
Yeah, I saw that 6 to 8 a.m. timeframe, but I don't think it's reasonable to ask.
No, it's not.
them to be here at that time.
Not for interviews.
It's not reasonable to ask.
Okay,
It's out.
so is it reasonable that they would have to, I mean, maybe Jess can answer this because of his wife's position. Is it reasonable that we ask them to take a half a morning off and get substitutes for that day? Because, do you know how that works at the school, Jess? Do you have any clue?
Jess, do you know when the school year ends?
The school year typically ends right at the end of May.
Okay.
Not exact dates, but I think they do have another month, like was said. Are we going to entertain, applicants coming in via Zoom? Because if that's something that the rest of the trustees are okay with, it seems like we should be able to schedule this rather quickly, and we should be able to line them up back to back to back in the evening and just get them knocked out. So.
I would prefer it in person if we can do it. But
I would
flexible.
prefer the applicants in person.
Yeah.
If all trustees can't, I mean, if Sally and Jordan had to go into a private room at the school to do it, I don't know, but I think it's reasonable that, that we ask if there's a substitute for a half a day for each of them. I mean, because this is what we all signed up for,
so
not this many meetings.
does anyone have a conflict on the 12th as well? Just because the firms may also have a hard conflict with the 11th, and I'd hate to only have one option.
Is a Wednesday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but we can, if, with 2 weeks, I think I can make some changes and I can probably do a switch, so we can make that happen. So if we want to try for the 10th, but then, or go to the 12th, or if you guys just want to start on the 12th.
so the 10th is off just because we have a town meeting, so the 11th or the 12th is what we're saying.
Or unless, well,
Either,
I'll just like put it at 4 on the 10th.
Yes, does that work for you?
Attorney, and then go into the board meeting?
Oh, God.
We don't have a good history of productivity towards the end of those meetings.
I was just a question.
Okay, then what about Monday, the 17th? And just totally do it on the following week on a Monday, and it's more clear for everybody. It gives everybody more time.
Jess, what do you got?
We have a planning commission on the 18th, so it'd be back to back. That's-
Well, if we're talking daytime, I would prefer not to stack meetings, but in the past, these have taken all day. So I've been on quite a few of these hiring committees. I believe this will be the 6th one for me with different staff members. So I'm just planning to devote a day to it. And like Tiffany said, Trustee Barella, this is one of the duties that we signed up for, and we got to get our attorney. So ready to do whatever it takes. We'll just have to make it happen. So
I would say just not wait so long till the 17th. Let's try for the week of the 10th and see if we can get them that week. Because we don't want to push Paul out any further than we got to right now.
yeah, and I don't know, like, if
And if we get
it works better for people, I could switch for that day too. And so I think in the interest of getting this done, I can assume that I can find coverage, so.
What day do the teachers have a half day at the school?
Wednesday or Friday.
I have no kids, so I have no,
I don't either. My kids are in their 30s.
Also keep in mind that on the 3rd, we're going to do the same process to get our top choices for administrator, and we'll be stacking that interview meeting sometime within hopefully 2 weeks of that as well.
yep, so that's why we need to get this one done and
Yeah, so
start
let's,
that one.
okay, let's make our window 11th, 12th, 13th. And if someone has a conflict, we'll deal with that. But for now, that's the tentative plan.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
You want to keep it the evening, or do you want to try during the day?
I'm totally
I would
flexible.
say,
It doesn't matter.
So we just need to confirm with Sally and Jordan.
because you guys haven't sat through these. It's a day. Mhm.
Until Justice said.
Yep.
Jess, do you prefer evening or morning for these days?
yeah, honestly, I think just like we've been saying, this is going to take probably 4 or 5 hours to run through them. Typically, we have a half hour space in between each interview. So it takes up quite a bit of time. I just don't think nighttime's really feasible. I think this is just going to have to be a day thing. If any way we could get Trustee Bierma and Trustee Barney to be able to attend during the day, I think that'll be the best for everybody, applicants included. Especially if they're having to travel. We don't want to make people have to drive home in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Agree.
All right, anything else before we adjourn? Right,
Actually, were we wanting to do any background checks on anybody?
Or now that we've pulled this is our top three, then we did it, right? Yeah, that's how we did it. You should be able to go confirm all of that. I'm only trying to speak from memory, so it should be in there, when we came up with our finalists, what we did.
And we do background check the top three. We don't wait till we have the finalists. So I'm just curious.
No, I think we did I'm pretty sure we did all three, because it was only what, $5 or something?
Yeah, it's only $5 to do it.
Yeah, because we're.
Yeah, it's only $5 to do it.
And so it
For-
was expensive
for attorney though, right?
for attorney. We did it for everybody.
Right, so we have to do it for each attorney list,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because you just want to make sure.
but still, it's like $50 maybe.
That's a drop in the bucket.
Okay, any other questions for us?
So we're going with, I just want to confirm, we want Anisi, Plumhoff and Whitmore, our top three.
Mhm.
Okay. That's all I needed. Talk to Jordan and Sally first and see what I can get them for a schedule, and then I will call them to let you guys know what day they're due and get somebody in as a substitute. And then I will also get you, as Trustee Barella asked, a cost of what Paul had and also a list of questions for you in a PDF form.
Yeah, because once you guys see what, we did this last time, once we saw what we were paying out, then it's easy to kind of go, when you start looking at what they're saying, say, okay, this is actually the structure we need when it comes, because that's more for contract negotiation. Yeah, I mean, how often, we only required the first 3 months, I believe in the contract, that the first 3 months they had to attend both meetings. And obviously at that time was in person. Right now it could be in the Zoom world. And that was an obligation, so they could actually learn what was in front of us, how we operate, everything that, takes place in our meetings. And then after that, it was the last meeting of every month, we put anything on that had to have an attorney review but that was all contractual. So, obviously if that has to change in contract negotiation, but it was a really good way to segue into, this is how we work. Thank you for coming, meet everybody, because you get to know everybody's personality. You can obviously, meeting in person, a lot of the angst and the anxiety of all of us is disappearing as well, because we could see eye to eye, we can focus on each other. And that made a big difference with the attorney present as well, because you get to know him or her. So I think you included in that drive as well the previous contracts from the last 2 or 3 attorneys. So that's also available to review. Was Tyler on yet?
So that link to the attorney files is already shared with all of us.
For the last,
That PDF and here we already have
Yeah,
access.
because Kelly and I worked through it and made a big file and sent it out. She and I got together.
Yeah.
And so, did you get that?
don't.
We'll make sure T gets a copy.
Yeah,
So yeah, we need to make sure Tyler gets a copy.
let me double check, but I don't know when I could, that was.
Okay. The other, one last question is, once I send you guys the questions, I'd say maybe by Monday, if you guys can get to look at them between tomorrow and Friday, to kind of give me any updates if you want, on changes on questions, or if there's a different question you would like to ask instead. That way you can have those all typed out and ready for you guys. And I'll make you guys another packet like this.
Fun for the Popeye look, Jess.
I brought it.
I love it. I love it.
You guys another packet like this that has the top 3 with the questions. That way, as we go through that, yeah, we can just ask them the questions and still have their resumes right in front for you.
I mean, I'm good to just hang on to this one if you just.
Yeah, we'll just use that and then I'll just give you the questions for them.
And we're gonna send out thank yous to the applicants that were not. Okay, awesome.
Yeah. I'll find out whether and get that done.
Any other questions for us?
No, we need to make sure that Tyler gets all of those, the big packet that you and I built, that you sent out. We need to make sure Tyler gets that.
Yep.
And I don't know, or an email that reiterates it and puts it fresh in everybody's box this time around.
And I'd like, Mayor Furman said, I will add the questions to that link so you guys can get into there to look at the questions.
Are there any other documents that T may be missing?
Oh,
That's a excellent question. Are there documents? This is the only one that I'm,
I don't know. You'd have to go back and look at how many communications we've had.
I have all the communications saved, so I'll,
That on there with the administrator search, with the attorney search, with anything that was relative to what we're doing right now to make sure that he's gotten all of the correct information.
and I think I'm mostly up to date. I mean,
Yeah, but there might have been just a few that just fell
yeah,
through.
I start on I started receiving emails here on the 28th of
Okay.
January, so
okay, I'll make sure if there is anything that was missed that you have that.
thank you.
You're welcome.
And then do we have an updated Google Drive with the newest applicants for administrator?
Those should,
You like they made with the attorney where they were all grouped in one place instead of the single email.
Yeah, so Nathan sent that one out
Excellent.
on April 8th.
1, 2,
At 6:25.
5. Am I looking at the April 8th?
There's 14 in it.
And we've received a few since then, haven't we?
Yes.
So you've been updating that Google Drive.
Put them in there? Okay.
Between Kelly, myself and interim administrator.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. No. 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, there it is. 9. Okay. Yep. Oh, perfect. Oh, interesting. Let's see.
Right. Anything else for wrap it up?
No, I think we're good.
I think we're good.
All right. Thank you all. I hereby adjourn this meeting. See you on the 3rd.
Hi, Jess.
Awesome.
Bye, Jeff.